It's almost like a cancer, like a cancer cell that keeps growing in one place. You have so many angles to look at this relationship, and you're only looking at it from the bitter point of view. And you're just creating more and more of something that's kind of real. But now, because you're focusing on it, you're exaggerating its reality. Like a cancer cell that keeps growing in one place. So the way to do that is to develop a meditation practice. When you think about that rejection, feel your hand. Feel your hand. Just feel the hand from within. Or even scan your... I can't tell you this. This is actually part of the meditation retreat that I did. They told me not to say it, but I'm going to say it. Part of it, right? Most of you guys are not going to do it. So you...
Like a boss.
First things first. Initially, you could fake your feminine aura. You could fake a genuine feminine aura in the first date or even in the second date. But unfortunately, like I always say in my videos, the self is always coming through. Who you are will always show itself over time. So this video is more about what are the habits that causes people to think of you one way at first and say, wow, this person is really feminine, really elegant. But then over time, they end up losing respect. What are those things? Because it's easy to give a good first impression in the first few minutes or even the first date. But it's over time that things get a little bit more confusing, because you could control what you show to people in the beginning and you have some conscious accountability. You know what you did wrong. But it gets more confusing because as the more you get to know people, the more muddled the cause of why they don't like you becomes. Like, you start to not understand why don't they like me the more they get to know me. And that's the problem. It leaves us more confused, more frustrated, and it leaves us questioning ourselves and our self-worth. And it's not a pretty thing. So we're going to talk about what are those habits that destroy or even affect your feminine aura to the point that it might cause people to pull away from you. The most important thing is just like food. The best types of food have multiple flavors in one go, right? It's not just hard, it's also soft, right? You have an ice cream, but then you have the cone, right? Two completely different.
Human beings have a natural inclination towards contrast and complexity because it stimulates our senses and brains in a unique way. This principle can be seen in our preference for opposites, such as bittersweet flavors, hot and cold foods, or experiences of pain and pleasure. The juxtaposition of these opposing elements creates a dynamic sensory experience that is both intriguing and satisfying. For instance, the combination of bitter and sweet in food provides a balance that makes the flavor more complex and enjoyable. Similarly, the contrast between hot and cold can create an interesting sensation that enhances the overall culinary experience. In terms of pain and pleasure, the contrast intensifies the feeling of relief or satisfaction when the discomfort subsides. Finally, textures like soft yet crunchy engage multiple senses at once, providing a more comprehensive sensory experience. This predilection for complexity and contrast is likely a result of our evolutionary history, where diverse experiences and stimuli often led to improved survival and adaptation.
Different taste and also two completely different texture, right? Good food always has the element of two: spicy and sweet, hot and cold, right? All of those things are things that are palatable to the human, to almost every animal, to be honest with you. And it's the same thing with the feminine aura. Too much femininity, like I always say in my videos, will always make you come across as a pushover, and it will always make you come across as less competent. And people did not make people, okay? Like, that's why when women are in professional settings, that's why it's always advised to women, tamper down the femininity. Because the more feminine you look at a workplace, the more men are not going to respect you as much. Now, people, do not get mad at me, people. Golly, man. People think I made people, all right? This is just what have been shown through plenty of studies. Plenty of studies. You can see the studies right here. It shows that having a sexually charged aura, which is stereotypically in the Western world feminine, causes men to see you completely different, in a way that causes men to not respect you in a professional setting, right? So what you have to do is, like I always say in these videos, is balance it out with some masculinity, people. If you don't have a masculine edge, it's going to destroy the feminine aura. It's like food. If you don't have salt in your food, I don't care how good you cook that chicken. I don't care how much umami, how much paprika or garlic you put in that food. If it doesn't have salt, it doesn't feel like you seasoned it. Salt is the ultimate seasoner to food. And for women, the masculine is the ultimate feminine. The hint of the masculine is what will make the feminine come alive. It's the secret ingredient. It is the dial to the chin. It is the up to the down. It is what's necessary. So you have to implement it, or else you look like a caricature of a woman. All right? So you have to have some masculinity. And unfortunately, some women don't have that masculinity because they never had a father. Honestly, it sounds like so condescending, but they never had masculine role models in their lives. They never absorbed their father's masculinity because maybe he wasn't around, right? For example, like this is why I tend to find women who have some masculinity attractive, right? And this is why I tell you guys, be careful what I say because I might be projecting. Why? Because most likely when I was younger, I didn't feel masculine. So we tend to be attracted to what we lack as a person. So I like a woman who has some masculinity because maybe is what I want in myself, people. Father Alex is saying it's gay. Calm down, Melissa, okay? I'm not gay. And I don't know why you're acting so accusatory like that's a bad thing, all right? So that's one thing, the masculinity. The next thing is not doing the Cinderella effect. Ladies and gentlemen, look, I don't tell you to put makeup on all the time. I don't tell you to try to look like a pretty princess 99.9% of the time. No. What I am telling you is that from time to time, you got to show your man the Cinderella effect. From time to time, you got to show your man what you have to offer. For example, it's like mob bosses, people who are in the mob, right? A lot of those people will beat up one of their sergeants or one of their top guys to show the mobsters who's boss, right? Or better yet, to remind them who's boss, because sometimes people forget. So what they do, like in the show Sopranos, Tony seemed like people were not taking him too seriously. So he hired a guy a few weeks ago in the show to be his hitman, to be his right hand guy for silly things. And because people weren't respecting him, he chose to beat him up for no reason. He said, Tony was like, "Why are you looking at me like that?" And he was like, "What are you talking about?" "Yeah, why are you looking at me like that? You're looking at me in a weird way." And he was like, "I don't know what you're talking about, Tony." And then he was like, "What do you think? I'm crazy?" Like gaslighting. He was like, "No, Tony, I don't think you're crazy. I just think I don't know what you're talking about." And he's like, "Come here." And the guy came. He's like a big muscular guy. And Tony just punched him and pummeled him and just kept hitting him. And everyone in the mob was just looking at him like. And then he just left them all bloodied on the floor and walked away, right? And he did that to remind everyone, hey, motherfucker, I'm still the boss. I'm still the main honcho up in his bitch, right? And that's kind of like the Cinderella effect, where sometimes me as a man, I forget. When I see you all the time, I forget your final form. I forget the final form that you have, which is whenever you go out, you could turn heads. Or even you have an extra level of prettiness that you usually don't employ all the time. So sometimes, ladies, you gotta sometimes not just wear it at home, but go out, do something, dress up, like show home that you have that other level that you don't use all the time. Because as men, we need to see that. We need, like, it's like we get used to it. You know what I'm saying? We get used to you. So you have to, from time to time, amp it up a little bit. And it sounds, oh my God, why are you putting all the onus on the women? No, people, I'm just observing what men do. And me as a man, like, it's almost like, I remember many years ago when I was going to college, there was this one girl who always dressed normal, who always dressed in her sweatshirts, right? And then one day I saw her at a party, and I'm like, oh my fucking God, you look amazing. Like, I never saw her that way. And because of that, I developed a crush on her. Why? Because I saw her in that Cinderella glowing look, right? And a lot of those things, a lot of the times when we end up being with people, we end up taking people for granted and we stop trying, right? I think it's just human nature, but you can't let that affect you. You have to always keep trying. No matter how much you think they love you, you should always keep trying. The next thing is complete independence. Ladies and gentlemen, like there's nothing wrong with being independent, but we can't have a bunch of Terminators walking around thinking they don't need a man. Because unfortunately, if you don't need a man is not gonna feel needed and he's not gonna stay with you. Like, I don't care how independent you are. Like, don't be so independent. Have a need for a man.
In the grand tapestry of life, the need for companionship, a yearning not of desperation but of profound understanding, is woven with threads of human nature. It is not an indication of frailty, but rather a testament to one's strength. To be a woman cognizant of this need for a man, a companion, is to acknowledge the essence of our existence. We are social creatures inherently drawn towards connection and unity. This understanding is not a surrender to dependency, but an embrace of our fundamental humanity. It is the conscious recognition that we are not solitary beings, marooned on islands of self-reliance. Rather, we are part of an intricate network of souls, each contributing to the other's growth, strength, and happiness. To admit to this longing is to display courage, the courage to be vulnerable to trust, and to open oneself up to the possibility of pain. It takes fortitude to allow oneself to be seen in all our raw, unvarnished truth, and to invite someone else to share in that truth. It is an act of bravery to seek love, knowing well the risks it holds. So, dear woman, do not shroud your desire for companionship in a veil of shame or perceive it as a sign of weakness. Recognize it as a mark of your strength, your courage, and your humanity. For it is in our connections with others that we find not only love and companionship, but also a mirror reflecting our own strength and resilience. Just as Dostoevsky wrote, we sometimes encounter people, even perfect strangers, who begin to interest us at first sight, somehow suddenly, all at once, before a word has been spoken. Such is the power of connection, of companionship. And to be aware of this need is to be intensely alive, profoundly human, and remarkably strong.
And the reason why I say it is because there's a certain level of vulnerability that comes by putting yourself in a position where you need someone in your life. For example, one of the main reasons why Homo sapiens beat out Neanderthals were bigger and stronger, right? They were able to take hits from bigger animals and survive. Us as humans, Homo sapiens, we were more fragile. A bear hits us and we're fucking done. A bear hits a Neanderthal and he could still get up and fight him and stab him, right? They were savages. They were tall as hell, muscular, just crazy. And because of that, they walked around in smaller tribes. They didn't need, like, they didn't rely on a group mind to survive. They relied on the fact that they were strong. So as a result, they weren't that social. Because of that, they didn't collaborate with other Neanderthals to take us over. But because we were so weak, we had no other choice but to collaborate with other Homo sapiens. And because of that, we found strength in numbers. We found the ability to completely dominate the arena through strength in numbers. Because of that, the Neanderthals just couldn't survive. And so we either killed them or they integrated into our genes by banging the women, right? All right, the prehistoric poom poom. But our strength came because we needed each other. Right? When you don't need people and you are solely dependent on yourself, yes, you are to a certain degree self-sufficient, but you are handicapping yourself. If you really want to be your strongest self, you have to open up space to need someone in your life. You have to. And unfortunately for a woman, whenever a man encounters a woman that doesn't need him, there's a certain level of emasculation that a man feels, even if the woman is not trying to create that effect. Even if you're not trying to make him feel emasculated, he's going to feel emasculated. That's just how it is. It's just a fragile ego, right? And a lot of independent women who don't need a man, who have money, who have power, will tell you they struggle dating. It is a struggle dating when you don't need a man. It's one of the hardest things when you don't need a man. Because it completely affects your nonverbal cues. It's almost like meeting an alien, honestly. Like, this bitch don't need me. Like, she completely is happy. She completely is the boss of her job. Everyone does what she does. Everyone does what she says. And she doesn't need a man? No. Like, that's not normal. Like, even that woman who's the boss bitch, deep down inside her heart, she wants to feel like she wants to surrender to someone. And unfortunately, a lot of women are falling into the trap of following the male path, which is being completely independent, having all the money and power, and attracting a woman. It doesn't work with men. That strategy does not work. It actually repels men. Studies show that women who win elections end up getting a divorce a few years later. Women who have a lot of power, who are bosses, a lot of them end up have a higher levels of divorce rates. People, it's so sad, right? It's really unfortunate. But having that much power, having that much independence kills your femininity. Just having power kills your femininity. Ladies and gentlemen, why would I want to tell you this? This might make you unsubscribe. I'm telling you this because this is just what I observed in my life. And by looking at a lot of research, this is the most common thing. It's truly sad. It's horrible. The next thing is bitterness and resentment. Listen, when you become bitter, when you internalize rejection, when you allow yourself to stay in relationships that you know are incompatible to you, you end up becoming bitter. I tell this to clients. I get a lot of clients that call me who are hell-bent at getting a guy despite the fact that they're the side chick, despite the fact that this is an impossible situation, and despite the fact that he is in prison for 3 years. And that's a made-up situation. He's in prison for 3 years, and yet you want to wait. How do I get him out? Bitch, that's a crime, all right? You can't do that. You can't do that. Why are you asking me this? The cops might be hearing. Like, what? Like, I'm not Black Jesus. I don't just do some magical stuff. Like, and what happens is that when you stay in impossible situations, it ends up hurting you over time. You end up internalizing a situation that you were already not going to win from the beginning. And you end up internalizing that rejection, almost as though you had a chance. It's like me wishing to fly and getting sad at the fact that I can't fly and bitter at gravity. Bitch, you can't fly. You can't. Some situations you can't control. And if you try to control some situations, you're going to end up getting bitter because the frustration is going to just hurt the ego because you think you had a chance. Ladies and gentlemen, don't force situations. If the guy's not showing you the interest, that doesn't mean you should be more feminine. That doesn't mean you should chase more. That doesn't mean he's shy, so as a result, you got to make a move. Stop with that. He's not shy. He's not dumb. He doesn't like you. All of this turning aggressive, and when I mean turning aggressive, I mean going for it, making a move, flirting with him when he should be flirting with you instead. All of this, over time, you internalize it, and you begin resenting that you got to make the first move. Or even people who stay with cheaters, who they keep staying because they don't have the emotional strength to leave and stay out. So they keep taking the rejection. They keep taking the cheating. They keep taking the abuse. And over time, you're going to get resentful. You're going to say, yo, I don't deserve this, and you don't deserve it.
Choosing to stay with those who cheat or abuse us is a decision that deeply impacts our psyche, trust, self-esteem, and moral compass. This choice erodes trust, turning the world into a place of suspicion and doubt. It severely damages self-esteem, leading us to question our own worth and desirability. It also triggers an existential crisis, blurring the lines between right and wrong, and causing us to question our values and identity. The insidious ripple of this decision then infiltrates our self-esteem, transforming it from a robust fortress into a crumbling edifice. Each act of infidelity, each instance of abuse, chips away at the pillars of self-worth, causing them to buckle under the weight of perceived inadequacy. The mirror of self-perception becomes clouded as we begin to view ourselves through the lens of another's failings, questioning our worthiness and desirability. Lastly, this decision thrusts us into an existential crisis. The values we once held dear are called into question as we wrestle with the morality of our choice and the identity we've adopted in its wake. The lines between right and wrong blur, and we find ourselves adrift in a sea of self-doubt and moral ambiguity. This transformation, however, does not end with us. It seeps into our future relationships, tainting them with the residue of our past experiences. We become wary of potential partners, seeing in them reflections of past deceivers and abusers. We either seek out similar patterns, trapped in a cycle of self-destruction, or we swing to the opposite extreme, choosing partners so different they feel alien to us. Both paths can lead to a disconnection, a sense of isolation even within the confines of a relationship.
But because you're already stuck, because you're already in love, you're gonna end up hating him. But the truth is that you hate yourself because you're allowing this to happen. You're developing a form of self-hatred, and this will make you hate men. This will make you come across as a bitter woman over time. And let me tell you something. Bitterness is something that you think you're hiding, but in reality, it's coming across as very, very obvious. Like me, I think I was bitter towards women because when I was younger, I got frustrated at women. It used to frustrate me. It used to confuse me. I wouldn't, like, when I was younger, first of all, I had a tough time keeping relationships because I traveled a lot. And a lot of women just didn't like I got frustrated at the fact that they couldn't travel with me, right? But it's like, and I just couldn't have a stable relationship. And because of all of my incompatibilities, my traveling a lot, my me not wanting to be with one woman, but at the same time wanting them, wanting to have my cake and eat it too, I think I developed some bitterness, and that shows over time. It shows. You think it doesn't show, but it does show, and it affects how you relate to the opposite sex. You guys, we have to be careful with turning bitter. And one of the ways that we turn bitter is through the stories we tell ourselves that results from the results of our dating lives. Like, they hurt us and you're like, fuck, man, I fucking hate that shit. Can't believe they hurt me. And that thought that is fueled by an emotion creates more of that emotion, which creates more of that thought, which causes you to focus more on the bad things that happen. So it's almost like a cancer, like a cancer cell that keeps growing in one place. You have so many angles to look at this relationship, and you're only looking at it from the bitter point of view. And you're just creating more and more of something that's kind of real. But now, because you're focusing on it, you're exaggerating its reality. Like a cancer cell that keeps growing in one place. So the way to do that is to develop a meditation practice. When you think about that rejection, feel your hand. Feel your hand. Just feel the hand from within. Or even scan your... I can't tell you this. This is actually part of the meditation retreat that I did. They told me not to say it, but I'm going to say it. Part of it, right? Most of you guys are not going to do it. So you scan your whole body. You keep scanning your body through your mind. You scan how this feel this. And you're going to feel the desire to think about the bitter feelings that men have done to you. But because you're scanning your body, all you're doing is feeling an emotion that usually comes with that thought. But because you're scanning the body with your mind and you're really concentrating, the thoughts are not there anymore. The feeling is, but the thought is. But it's the thoughts that amplify the bitterness. So now you're not adding to the fire, but you're allowing this fire, which you've built over the years, to go out on its own. And the thing about fire is that the fire will only go out once the material that was put into the fire is burnt out. And so you keep scanning the body and you keep feeling that bitterness. And as long as you don't add more wood to the fire, in other words, as long as you don't keep thinking about why you feel this bitter, even though you feel like you're justified, even though you feel like they did you wrong, as long as you stay focused on feeling the body and not adding to it by saying, I cannot believe it, all of a sudden you feel more bitter. As long as you don't do that and keep scanning the body and sitting down, that samskara, or even that pain will go out on its own. You're allowing it to flame out, but it may take a while.
The Vipassana technique of scanning the body is a profound practice of self-observation and mindfulness. It involves bringing focused attention to different parts of the body, observing sensations without judgment or reaction. This practice promotes body awareness, stress awareness, relaxation, and unification of sensations, which can be beneficial in liberating us from past pain and loosening the grip of the ego. The process begins with observing gross sensations in the body, pain, pressure, temperature, etc. As we become more skilled in the practice, we start to notice subtle sensations like tingling, vibration, or energy flow. By objectively observing these sensations, we learn to disassociate our identity, our ego, from our physical and emotional experiences. We begin to understand that sensations, like all things in life, are impermanent. They arise and pass away. This understanding helps to loosen the grip of the ego as we realize that we are not our thoughts, emotions, or physical sensations. Moreover, by focusing on the present moment and the sensations in our bodies, we gradually shift our attention away from past traumas and future anxieties. This shift helps us to let go of past pain, We learn to observe our suffering without becoming entangled in it, which leads to a sense of liberation. Over time, with consistent practice, this technique can lead to a dissolution of the ego. As we become less identified with our thoughts, emotions, and sensations, our ego, the part of us that clings to these things as a definition of who we are, begins to dissolve. In its place, we find a greater sense of peace, freedom, and a deeper connection with our true nature.
Right? And it's going to feel uncomfortable because you're so used to being the victim. You'll notice there is a pleasure in being the victim because the bitterness comes because you're the victim. Don't let that victim mind, that victim thought get to you. Keep scanning the body, or keep noticing the breath, or keep feeling the hand. Keep doing that. And what happens over time, you become liberated through presence. You become liberated through the act of meditation. And what happens from that, it fixes your nonverbal cues. It reduces the level of bitterness you might feel towards men or women because, you know, it's easy to feel resentful towards the opposite sex. I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes you just want to choke a bitch. like I swear to God, like in my experience, oh my God, he's better. It's true. Like in my experience, you get so frustrated. Like I'm like, why can't you just be direct? Why did you add me and then don't message me back? Why do you match and then don't respond? Like it's normal to feel that frustration and to want to let it out. Keep scanning the body. Keep feeling the body. Keep noticing the breath. Don't let that bitterness create an identity by creating a thought of why you're bitter, and then seeing yourself as that bitter person, and that image of that bitter person becomes your identity, your unconscious identity. Don't let that happen. Keep feeling the body, right? And those emotions will go away over time. Honestly, I just told you guys some fire secret shit. I'm not even lying to you. This is this is something that I can't tell. That one part, whatever, man. This is something I teach part of it in my course, Emotional Mastery. So if anybody wants to purchase it, click on the description down below. So yeah, bitterness will destroy your feminine aura because it's like a guy's gonna sense it. It's like when you meet a guy who's bitter towards women, you can sense it, right? Because the truth is, humans are frustrating, man. Come on, let's keep it honest. We're frustrating creatures. We act like we're good, but in reality, we do some crazy shit, man. So, for you to say that you're bitter towards men, and for me to say you're bitter towards women, we're not perfect. I think it's normal to feel bitter towards the opposite sex because they reject us the most, right? Like dudes don't fucking reject me. I don't want them. I don't want you, right? So it's kind of like when you're dealing with someone that you want something from them, of course you're going to feel resentful sometime, But it's important for us to not internalize it. It's important for us to not internalize it and make it part of our identity. That's the most important thing. Don't internalize it. Don't make it part of your identity. And when you feel that frustration, don't think about it. Just keep feeling the body and meditate. And that's how I let go. And now I'm at a place where it doesn't matter what you do to me. I'm still going to have love for you. Like, it doesn't matter how much you hate me. I'm not going to hate you back because I learned through the process of meditation, which you guys can learn this by either 1, purchasing my course, Emotional Mastery, 2, getting the book, The Power of Now, or 3, going to a 10-day meditation retreat by going to the website, dhamma.org. You can see the thing right here. But that will liberate you from yourself. And that's why this channel is called Mindful Attraction, because mindful is the first part, the spirituality. And then after that is the attraction. You turn your life into a spiritual practice. Anyways, people, hope you guys enjoyed this video. All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you guys haven't purchased any of my courses, we have a special bundle deal for everyone. So that you can purchase all of my courses, meaning you could purchase the Psychological Game of Attraction, Natural Chemistry, and Nice Girl, along with all of the bonuses. Originally, if you purchase everything without the bundle, it'll be around $500, to be honest with you. But right now, if you guys purchase it with the bundle, you guys will be able to get all of these courses: Psychological Game of Attraction, which is for women who are single; Natural Chemistry, which is for women who are in a relationship; Nice Girl, which is a course on assertiveness, along with all of the bonuses: Social Mastery, Practical Mastery in terms of how to master anything; Social Mastery in terms of how to master your social skills; and The Laws of Human Nature, wherein it's part of the Robert Greene book club I used to have. All of these, naturally, like I said, it's $500. Now you get it at $394, which is essentially 20% off everything.
But if you guys want to purchase a more affordable bundle, you guys can purchase the bundle without the bonuses, and that will be at 224 rather than the 300, well, rather than the 293 that you guys would naturally purchase it. So you could purchase it with the bundle or without the bundle. You could purchase it with the bonuses or without the bonuses. It's all of the work that I put in the last 4 years, in the last 5 years actually, all of the research that I've done. And this course, rather than watching all of my videos, and because they could be random and you could sort of like lose the big picture because there's just so many videos, you guys get all of the content condensed in a course. Trust me, people, if you guys purchase this, you won't regret it. If you haven't purchased it, hopefully this will push you towards it, because it's something that I believe in, and everyone who's purchased my course have been satisfied with it. And if they didn't like it, I always give their money back. I have never rejected a refund. All right. So purchase it right now. Click on the description down below where it says purchase the bundle, and I'll see you guys inside.